They used my kindness against me, and now they're trying to take my son. I never imagined that allowing my late husband's parents into my son's life would lead to a courtroom battle, where they're branding me an unfit mother simply because I've dared to move forward and find happiness again. My name is Nina. I'm 29, and I'm a single mother to my wonderful 2-year-old son, Ben. His father, Ethan, was a kind, funny man I met while he was on a work trip in my city. What started as a casual dinner turned into a genuine connection. And for 8 months, we enjoyed a loving, though mostly long-distance, relationship. When I found out I was pregnant, it was a shock to us both. We discussed all the options, but my heart was set on keeping the baby. Ethan, to his credit, was supportive. He wanted to be involved, and we made plans to co-parent, though we agreed we weren't right as a couple. Tragedy struck when Ethan was killed in a car accident during my 7th month of pregnancy. The world, as I knew it, ended for all of us. Ethan's parents, Margaret and Robert, were aware of the pregnancy when he passed. We had already done a prenatal paternity test at Ethan's insistence, wanting everything to be clear. His death devastated everyone, but it utterly destroyed his parents. Ben is their first and only grandchild. Their 2 other children, Anna, 35, and Grace, 25, are not parents. Anna has been struggling with infertility for years with her wife, and Grace is focused on her career and is happily single. For Margaret and Robert, Ben became their sole reason to get up in the morning, their legacy, as they began to call him. Ethan's entire family lives across the country in a wealthy, tight-knit community, except for Grace, who works overseas. They have a significant family-owned manufacturing business there, a pillar of their small town, where the family name carries considerable weight. I have my own life, career, and support system here in my hometown, where I live with Ben. After he was born, out of a deep sense of compassion and a belief that Ben should know his father's family, I established an informal visitation agreement. Margaret and Robert would fly in to visit twice a month, sometimes accompanied by Anna. I was grateful for their involvement initially. It felt like a way to keep a part of Ethan alive for Ben. They doted on him, and I thought we were building an extended family for my son. A significant point of tension from the beginning was their desire to take Ben to their hometown. They own a sprawling estate that has been in their family for generations, and they are deeply embedded in the local community. They wanted Ben to experience his heritage, to run on the same land his father did. While I understood the sentiment, I was firm. Any travel would include me. I made the trip with Ben 3 times in his first 2 years, but it was never enough for them. They wanted solo time, extended visits, a chance to have him in their world without my presence. Our relationship, while never perfect, was civil. Margaret had strong opinions on everything from breastfeeding to sleep schedules, but I learned to nod and then do what I felt was best for my child. The real fracture appeared when I began dating David. David is 32, a kind, stable architect with a 4-year-old daughter named Sophia. We've been together for 10 months. We don't live together. Both of us value our independence and are taking things slowly for the sake of our children. We see each other a few times a week, often for play dates and the occasional dinner. It's a normal, healthy relationship. Margaret's disapproval was immediate and venomous. During her visits, she'd make pointed comments. I see a strange car in your driveway often, Nina. David drives a distinctive blue sedan. Is it wise to have a man around Ben so much? She learned about Sophia's sleepovers because she'd often FaceTime Ben in the evenings, and once, a pajama-clad Sophia waved in the background. Margaret's lips would press into a thin line. The criticism was constant, a low hum of negativity that grew louder each visit. The breaking point came over the holidays. In early December, I sent a warm email to Margaret, Robert, and Anna, inviting them to a Christmas Eve gathering at my home. David and I were hosting a small, cozy party for our families and close friends. I wanted them to be included, to spend time with Ben on the holiday. I even offered that they could take Ben out for a special lunch on Christmas Day itself. I thought I was being generous and accommodating. 2 days later, I received a call from Margaret. Her tone was not one of gratitude, but of cold declaration. "We've made arrangement for Ben to spend Christmas with us at the estate," she stated, as if informing me of a board meeting time. "We'll be flying in on the 23rd and taking him back with us. He'll return on the 2nd. I was stunned. "Margaret, that's not happening. We never discussed this. I invited you here." She sighed, a sound of profound impatience. "Nina, be reasonable. We've waited patiently. He's old enough to travel without you now. It's time." "Time for what?" I asked, my voice rising. "He's my son. You don't get to make unilateral decisions about his travel." "We have rights," she snapped. "He's Ethan's son, our grandson. This is a discussion, and we've decided." I actually laughed, a short, incredulous sound. "You're not discussing anything, you're dictating." And the answer is no. The conversation spiraled. She accused me of trying to erase Ethan and replace him with David. Hurt and angry, I fired back, saying something I immediately regretted but couldn't take back. "Ethan never even got to hold his son, and you're using that grief as a weapon." She hung up on me. Minutes later, my phone rang again. It was Robert. His voice was calmer, trying to be the rational mediator. "Nina, please. Margaret is very upset. We've already purchased Ben's plane tickets. We bought them 2 months ago, confident you'd see reason. Just apologize and we can move past this." The admission felt like a physical blow. 2 months. They had planned this ambush for 2 months, never once mentioning it to me, the child's mother. Any lingering guilt or sympathy evaporated. "You bought tickets for my child without my knowledge or consent. That is unbelievable. And no, I will not apologize. You owe me an apology." Robert's calm facade shattered. "If you don't reconsider, we will have no choice but to pursue legal action to ensure our access to our grandson. We will go to court." "Then that's your choice," I said, my voice trembling but clear. "But you are the ones choosing this fight." The silence that followed was heavy. A week later, I was served. The legal papers were a masterpiece of character assassination. They were petitioning for increased custodial rights, painting me as an unstable, neglectful mother who was exposing her vulnerable son to a revolving door of men. David was the only man I dated since Ethan, and prioritizing my new relationship over my child's well-being. They claimed my hostility was alienating Ben from his paternal family and his heritage. My world tilted on its axis. I felt violated, furious, and terrified. I immediately hired a lawyer, Elena. She was a force of nature, recommended by a trusted friend. After reviewing the case, she was blunt. "They have virtually no chance of gaining custody. Nina, the bar for proving a parent unfit is extremely high, and nothing in your life even approaches it. At most, in our state, grandparents can be granted visitation rights if it's in the child's best interest and doesn't interfere with the parent-child relationship. But their actions, planning travel without your consent, their hostile communications, will work against them." Despite her reassurance, the fear was paralyzing. People in my life were divided. Some praised me for setting boundaries. Others, who didn't understand the depth of the manipulation, thought I was being cruel to deny loving grandparents a holiday with their grandson. "They're just grieving," they'd say. But I knew this was about control, not grief. Elena advised a complete lockdown. All visitation and FaceTime calls were suspended. Communication would now flow solely through our lawyers. I immersed myself in building what online forums call an Fu binder, a meticulously organized collection of every text, email, call log, and incident. I documented Margaret's intrusive comments, the dates of their visits, the details of the ticket purchase admission. I upgraded my home security system, informed my building's concierge and security team that under no circumstances were Margaret or Robert to be allowed near my apartment, and provided photos. I spoke with Ben's daycare, giving them strict instructions, and a copy of the temporary restraining order Elena helped me file based on her threatening legal action and the fear of unauthorized travel. The most surreal moment came when Grace, Ethan's younger sister, reached out via text. She was checking if a birthday gift for Ben had arrived. Seizing the opportunity, I carefully explained the situation. Grace was horrified. She had no idea about the lawsuit or the Christmas demands. She promised to talk to Anna immediately. A few days later, a three-way video call was arranged, with my lawyer's permission and recorded for my protection. Anna, looking exhausted but resolute, apologized for her distance. She then shared her own news. After years of struggle, she and her wife were finally expecting via a surrogate, and she was 20 weeks along. She had deliberately kept it from her parents because of her mother's overwhelming, stress-inducing behavior during her previous IVF attempts. The conversation turned to their parents. Anna revealed a side of the family I'd only glimpsed. Margaret, the consummate boy mom, had always placed Ethan on a pedestal, viewing her daughters as secondary. His death had unhinged her completely, and Robert, desperate to manage her profound depression, had enabled her every whim, including the disastrous lawsuit. Dad thought threatening you would make you cave and give them more access, Anna explained, her voice thick with disgust. He says Mom's mental health depends on having Ben. He refuses to see that using a child as an emotional crutch is the definition of unhealthy. Grace was livid. They're treating Ben like a replacement for Ethan, an object. It's sick. Anna confronted Robert. She told me she threatened to cut all contact, resign from the family business, and legally ensure her future child would have no unsupervised access to them if they did not immediately drop the lawsuit and get Margaret serious psychological help. Faced with the potential loss of both his daughters and his future grandchild, Robert finally buckled. In early January, their lawyer contacted Elena. They wanted to drop the custody petition and negotiate a formal, court-approved visitation agreement. I was relieved but far from trusting. My terms were non-negotiable. First, the lawsuit had to be formally withdrawn with prejudice, meaning it couldn't be refiled. Second, Margaret and Robert had to provide evidence from a licensed therapist that Margaret was engaged in treatment for her depression and unresolved grief. Third, any visitation would restart slowly and under supervision at a neutral, court-approved family center in my city. Fourth, we would all attend several sessions of family counseling to establish healthier communication boundaries. To my surprise, they agreed. The custody case was dismissed. Margaret was diagnosed with severe complicated grief and PTSD. Reports from her therapist, provided to my lawyer with appropriate confidentiality waivers, stated she was making progress but had a long road ahead. Robert, it turned out, was also attending grief counseling for the first time. The first supervised visit at the family center was tense. Ben, confused but happy to see familiar faces, ran to them. I watched from the observation room, my heart in my throat. The social worker was professional and firm. The visit was brief, focused on play. Margaret cried quietly the whole time, but they followed the rules. After 3 such visits and 2 joint virtual therapy sessions, where I calmly expressed how betrayed and frightened their lawsuit had made me feel, a new, formal order was signed by a judge. It granted Margaret and Robert supervised visitation twice a month at the family center for the next 6 months, after which the situation would be reevaluated. Travel outside the city was prohibited. Any future request for expanded visitation would require a mutual agreement and could not be pursued through threat or litigation. The family therapy was painful but cathartic. Robert, in one session, finally looked at me and said, "We were wrong. We were so lost in our own pain, we forgot Ben is your son first. We saw you moving on as an insult to Ethan's memory, but it's not. It's life." Margaret, though less articulate, nodded through tears. I didn't magically forgive them, but I saw the broken people behind the legal monsters. For Ben's sake, I was willing to proceed with extreme caution. David has been my rock through it all, never pushing, only supporting. Our relationship, tested in this fire, has grown stronger. Ben adores Sophia, and they have a sweet, sibling-like bond. As for the future, I don't know if trust with Ethan's parents can ever be fully rebuilt. The fear of kidnapping has subsided but not vanished. I keep my security tight. The estate, the heritage, feels like a distant, irrelevant concept. Ben's heritage is the love and safety I provide in our home. The memories of his father I share through stories and photos, and the healthy, chosen family we are building around us. The ordeal taught me a brutal lesson. Kindness must affirm boundaries, and the deepest grief can sometimes twist into a dangerous sense of entitlement. I will never again confuse compassion with capitulation. My son is safe, loved, and blissfully unaware of the war that was waged over him. And for now, that's the only victory that matters.